A man was very rude to my grandma, so I got my revenge. I was shopping with my grandmother for Thanksgiving at the local supermarket. It's very busy and all the carts make things very slow to move. I hear a disgruntled harumph from behind me and see some 40-something man almost ramming his way through. He hits the cart my grandmother is holding, jostling her slightly. A clear accident, I would have thought, until I heard him say, "Some people really are rude." I almost did a double take when I heard that. To say this annoyed me is an understatement. We try to brush it off and continue shopping. About 5 minutes later, I see him again walking toward the bathroom. I immediately have a brilliant idea. I tell my grandma I'm going to go back to the produce section and hurry off. I find his cart quickly because he had a lot of water stacked in it. I wheel the cart off in the opposite direction and take it to the other side of the store and wedge it in a corner out of everyone's way near the employee entrance. Walking back to grandma with a smile on my face, while in the checkout line, I see him walking around confused with a really ugly mug. Grandma asked why I was smiling so much. I just told her I remembered something funny.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.
Neighbor kept borrowing my tools until I returned the favor. This happened a while back, but a Reddit post jogged my memory. I used to have this neighbor who treated my tool collection like his personal rental service, except the part where you actually return the stuff. Most of the time, I didn't care because I didn't use the tools often, but I always ended up having to wander over days later to reclaim my own belongings. One time, I actually needed a tool back, only to find out he had borrowed it and then loaned it to one of his buddies. That tool vanished into the void forever. Granted, I should have handled this better, but a few days later, to make this end, I asked to borrow his lawnmower. I made the excuse I always let you borrow my tools. I used it and put it back exactly where it belonged. I just forgot to return the keys. When he came over the next day demanding them back, granted, I was always friendly when asking for my stuff back. "Oh, I remembered last night. I left them with Jimmy. He said he'd mail them back to you." After the neighbor left, I actually went and put the keys in the mail, weirdly enough, and at this point, thankfully, he never asked to borrow anything from me again.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.
Foiled pick mez plans. My former friend Savannah has been covetous from as long as I can remember. A little background about her. She's on marriage 4, with all marriages ending in her infidelity. She won't take no for an answer and believes that it is easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. She complains she's unhappy with husband number 4 but can't leave due to finances. However, she only works 15 hours a week and her side gigs don't bring in too much money. She mocks people when they offer to help her find more hours or help with her resume. I heard and witnessed a few odd stories about her. My friends had stories of places she'd show up uninvited in an effort to be alone with their partners. Then she turned her sights on my boyfriend. They are crazy about the same band and they both wanted to go see them. I had plans for the evening, so I told them to go together. They had fun and she couldn't stop going on and on how wonderful it was. Going out with my BF. I figured either she doesn't care if she appears to be looking or doesn't care how her husband might feel. My BF liked the band but said very little about her. She figures that my BF is her concert date now and comes up with a few concerts she'd like to go to. BF lets her know he'd like to bring me. Every time he does that, she backs out the plans to the extent we begin to think she doesn't want me there. Curious about this, I decide to do a test. There's a cover band that came to town that she and my BF love. Again, she brings up going with him. He tells her that I'll be out of town, but he plans on going. They decide to go together and she even offered to cook dinner for him prior to the concert. About a week before, she's nonstop texting him about the show. The day of show comes up and they confirm plans in the morning. Around 16 o'clock, I send a group text to her and BF that I can make it to the show after all. She doesn't respond. We go to the show and a guy is sitting in her seat. Apparently, he got the ticket very last minute from someone selling it. My BF has never heard from Savannah again about concerts again. She avoids us at parties, as she does with most of the women in our group. Word to the wise, avoid your buddy if they act like a pick-me. Even if you don't have a partner, they make horrible friends.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.
Don't be a deek when you're the new guy. This was at least 20 years ago at this point, but in my very first job, I was obviously in my 20s and had worked in this small workplace for some 3 odd years. Nice place. Friendly coworkers, etc. Now we hired this new dude, also in his 20s, a bit younger than me. Now this is his first day and first few hours. He's being introduced to us. His name is Nick. I introduce myself as Jake. Out of the blue, the guy says, "Hey Jacob." I politely correct him saying, no. I go by Jake, not Jacob. You'd think as a new employee on your very first day, he'd be like, "Sorry," or "Will do," but nope. This guy had to go the extra mile to be an AHE. He goes, "Well, I like Jacob, and you look more like a Jacob than Jake, so I am just going to call you that." I can take good-natured ribbing, but not from a new guy on his very first day. Hell, no 2 notes. We were all gathered in the front lobby, and as he was being led to the next area in front of the entire staff, I just calmly said to him, "Okay, Nick, but then I am just going to have to call you Dick." The whole office, 20-some folks who had gathered to meet him, erupted in laughter. He went red and said, "Yeah, I didn't think that one through very well." Bottom line, don't be a douche on your very first day, and for no good reason to someone you barely know.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.
Apartment just got smaller. This happened to a friend. He lived in an apartment with a landlord who was completely unresponsive. On the rare occasion when you could get him on the phone to let him know about a problem, he always sounded sympathetic and promised action, but very little ever came of it. Little things like no heat in the winter for a month, so my friend found another place to live and gave notice. The week before he was to move out, the landlord asked him for permission to have a photographer come in while he was at work so he could take pictures of the apartment and advertise it. My friend decided to get in a little very petty revenge. The day before the photographer was to come in, he moved all of the furniture in the living room closer to the center of the room. Like couches and chairs that were against the wall were now moved 8 inches closer to the center of the room. The apartment wasn't very large to begin with, but now it looked absolutely cramped and gave the impression that you would have a hard time moving. Around in there a month or so later, the apartment was still on the market because, hey, who wants to live in a cramped little shoebox?
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.
No shampoo for you? This happened today. I'm a shopper via one of the various apps people can use to order whatever they want with delivery included. I have a hard and fast rule of no tip, no trip. But there is one exception to this rule when the stars align and the conditions are perfect. If it's my last shop of the day and the delivery address will be along my route home. One such offer came through and it met the requirements. Less than a handful of items, no tip offered, but it would put me near home after the delivery. The first 2 of the 5 items was a very expensive boutique brand of shampoo and conditioner. On the shelf was 2 bottles of shampoo and no corresponding conditioner. I took a photo, sent it via the customer chat, and informed them the store was sold out of the conditioner. The customer responded immediately with, "You are stupid. I can see it in the photo." I then take another photo that shows the empty shelf, the item price tag on the shelf, and I explain again that they have one but not the other. The customer doubles down and calls me, and I quote, "You are a effing idiot," but the much more colorful word. This became a no-win situation for me. I knew that a bad rating was coming if I completed this order, and as no tip was offered up front, it was guaranteed that no tip would be added after. So I didn't respond at all and canceled the shop. When a driver cancels, it immediately gets sent out to another driver. Knowing this, I did the next best thing. Took the remaining 2 bottles of shampoo and relocated them behind some Legos in the toy aisles on my way out the store. The next shopper can now hopefully send them a photo of the empty shelf void of both items.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.